the mayor of New York is married to a woman who would like to the worst mass murderer of Jews since the Holocaust. What do you think that tells us about that new politics that is creeping up in the Western world?
She is monstrous. He is monstrous. He only likes the kind of Jews who hate other Jews and who hate Israel and want to destroy Israel. I'm afraid to say, many of whom voted for him, because it is a monstrous situation. These people are monsters. They support monsters. They support people who rape and torture Israelis in a most sadistic way. And it's like a psychopathy.
One of the greatest speakers of our generation is the great Melanie Phillips. Here she is talking about Mamdani's wife, Rama Douaji, filled with anti-Semitic, anti-women, and anti-Israel rhetoric. So I'd like to hear what you have to say about this. And don't forget to leave your comments below. Subscribe to this great channel, and we'll talk to you on the other end of the video.
One thing that happened on 7th of October, alongside all the things you've just mentioned there, is that the wife of the future mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, his wife Rama Douaji, she was liking posts that celebrated what was happening in Israel. She was giving a heart, which is what you do on Instagram. She was giving a heart to images of Hamas's invasion, the collapse of the fence, people sitting on top of an IDF tank and so on. My initial response when I saw these reports, and I'm sure you've seen them as well, is that, well, maybe she didn't understand how awful it was on that day. But no, months later, in 2024, she was liking posts that denied Hamas's sexual crimes against the women of southern Israel. I found it very difficult to communicate to people just how serious it is that the mayor of New York is married to a woman who would like, let's be honest about it, who would give a heart to the worst mass murderer of Jews since the Holocaust. That's what we're talking about here. What have you made of that story? What do you think that tells us about, not only about Mamdani and New York, but I guess that new politics that is creeping up in the Western world?
Well, it's monstrous. I mean, she is monstrous. He is monstrous. He has the same views. He thinks that Israel should not exist. He has said so. He may purport to like Jews, but he only likes the kind of Jews who hate other Jews and who hate Israel and want to destroy Israel. And so he uses Jews to divide the Jewish community of New York. I'm afraid to say, many of whom voted for him, because this is another topic, maybe, about 3/4 of American Jews are liberally and left-wingly inclined, and they voted for him in great number. Whether they're having buyer's remorse now, I'm not sure. But it is a monstrous situation. These people are monsters. They support monsters. They support people who not only slaughter, but rape and torture in a most sadistic way Israelis on October 7, 2023, and would do the same again. And it's like a psychopathy. And it's not just them. I mean, I'm looking at the faces and behavior of people in Britain and in the equivalent demonstrations in Australia, in Canada, and you see the same contorted hatred of Jews. And you think, well, what's going through their minds? Why do they hate Jews? Most of them never met a Jew. They don't know anything about Judaism. They know nothing about the Middle East, nothing about Israel. But they have been taught that this is what passes for conscience. They observe that their entire peer group thinks this. And it's like the madness of crowds. It's the herd. You follow the herd. And we've seen this over and over again. We've seen the kind of, it's almost like a kind of herd or mob hysteria that takes over in support of a cause. I mean, I wasn't around at the time. I'm not that old, but nevertheless, I read that something like this took over the educated classes in the 1930s over Stalin. They all thought Stalin was just the bee's knees. They thought that, Stalinism was going to bring about, as it said on the tin, the brotherhood of man and the perfect society and so on. And they simply didn't want to hear about the millions and millions of people who were being slaughtered and locked up and tortured and abused. I mean, how does one account for this? How does one account for the fact that, so many in Germany supported Nazism? I mean, we can all find specific reasons for all these things. One can root it in an economic situation, in the politics of the time, in what had happened in previous wars to the population, and all these things are perfectly valid reasons. but they don't really get to the heart of it. Why people can suspend reason in the way that they have, in the way that they do. And to me, this is almost the most frightening thing of all, because, you look at these faces, you look at these people, even in kind of private, quiet conversations where no one's looking at them from outside, you present facts and evidence. You say, well, that can't be true because look at this. And it's like you hit a brick wall. There is simply no way facts and evidence can penetrate. Why is that? I mean, what we're living through in this ostensibly the most rational age ever known to man, what we're looking through is a complete eclipse of reason and rationality. And how can that possibly be when everyone's now so well educated relative to what they were? Well, the answer, I think, comes back to what happened more than half a century ago, which is that in the universities, in the academy, in the intelligentsia, the idea of objective truth was simply abolished. From that point, everything became a matter of opinion. If there was no truth, there were no lies. If you said something was a lie, well, that was just your opinion. And if you are somebody that I disapprove of, then your opinion is worthless. It's like that. That's what's happened. And so, if you abolish truth, you abolish reason. If you abolish reason, you get the embrace of lies. And if you get the embrace of lies, you have a society which comes off the moral guardrails completely and goes hurtling into a kind of anarchy of behavior, both on the streets, as we increasingly see, and in people's minds. There is no moral compass anymore.
Well, there she was, the great Melanie Phillips, a British journalist turned conservative in the midpoint of her life because she saw what the British society was doing to Israel and to Jews, and she kind of would be forecasting what would be happening in England today with the Islamization and the horrific anti-Semitism that would ensue in England and around the world. And we're seeing, unfortunately, the same thing from Rama Douaji. She's a Syrian American artist, illustrator, and she's Mamdani's wife. We already know Zohran Mamdani is an anti-Semite. He hates Israel. He was the co-founder of an organization founded by the Muslim Brotherhood called the Students for Justice in Palestine, an extremely anti-Semitic, violent organization that beats Jews up, occupies college campuses, smashes windows, destroys life around campuses around the country. She's married to him, and she has even worse comments to say about Israel. It's just been uncovered. She has many, many likes of different tweets and different social media posts that was celebrating the murder of Jews on October 7th, the butchering, the cutting off of heads, the sticking children into ovens and raping people in front of their family members. This is what Rama Sawaf Douaji, the wife of Mamdani, supported. And she, since then, since they caught all of her likes, she took them down. She's obviously terribly embarrassed about that, or it's embarrassing at least for the power that the Islamofascists won in New York City. But it's even worse than that. She even denied that there was sexual violence against Jews in Israel, people raped in front of family members. There were people whose, as they were raping them, were cutting other body parts. And Rama Sawaf Dawaji refused to condemn them. I think she even celebrated some of these murderous attacks. This is horrific news for a city that's been now witnessing horrific anti-Semitism, 187% increase in anti-Semitism since Mamdani got into power. This just a few months ago. Endless amount of anti-Israel hatred, anti-Semitic hatred. And as Melanie Phillips pointed out, Mamdani likes certain Jews. He likes Jews who hate other types of Jews. So he really doesn't like the Jewish people. His history proves it. His extreme opinions and violence in the Students for Justice for Palestine. He refuses to condemn the term to globalizing intifada, or even to say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. We know what that means. It means murder all the Jews in Israel, just like Iran is trying to do right now during the Iran-American-Israel war right now. But it just takes a Melanie Phillips the courage, a woman who's a brilliant journalist, a woman who's seen the murder of Jews. She's seen the destruction of British Jewry. In fact, while this woman Rama is, mouthing off against Israel, thousands of Jews have been killed, like in Bondi Beach, in a synagogue in Chicago a few weeks ago, where they tried to murder a Muslim terrorist went and tried to murder as many children as he could. These are things which are happening every day. Just last night, Muslims firebombed a 3 or 4 different Jewish ambulances in England. This is the violence. But you know what happens is like this: the violence doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes rhetoric like Zohran Mamdani and rhetoric from people like Rama Douaji, who have been exposed right now, and they're not really sorry about it. It's even been said in certain black videos that she said the N word as well. Yes, that's right, the N word against blacks. This is a woman who has filled with a lot of vile hatred against blacks and against Jews. They pose to be social liberals in public, but we have the receipts, ladies and gentlemen. We see the horrific culture, the horrific hatred. A woman who denies that there was sexual violence against Israeli women. The United Nations has admitted it. Other Arabs have admitted it at this point. It's a very well known fact. And of course, the horrible murder of Jews during October 7th, where thousands of Hamas terrorists and civilians came in and murdered, raped up to 1,200 people, wounded for life 7,000 people, and took 251 innocent individuals. These were left wing, actually, many of them kibbutzniks, they're called, peaceniks in southern Israel. They took them into the horror tunnels of genocide against the Jewish people, the Hamas genocide that threatens to kill every single Jew in the world, according to their charter. They took them into the terror tunnels, tortured them for up to 2 years, starved them to death. And this woman and her husband are liking all the tweets and liking all the things said about the destruction of Jews, destruction of Israel. But of course, I want to hear what you have to say about this. So don't forget to leave your comments below, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you in future great videos.